There are two types of hook parameters, the install time parameter and the runtime parameter. In the previous video, we have discussed about install time parameter. In this video, we shall see how runtime parameters work. But make sure to watch the previous video because we are using the same source code in this video. I'll put the link to the previous video in the description section. So please watch that video before this one. In the previous video, we hard-coded master account. In this video, we will pass it as runtime parameter. Let me copy the variable name. Runtime parameters are passed while triggering the hook from here by making a transaction. So here we pass the parameter. Let's call the key as yum, stands for master. It can be anything, and then pass the value. Since the parameter is passed with the originating transaction, we must use OTXN param hook API. OTXN means originating transaction. So the first parameter is the variable to store the value. The next parameter is the key, which is yum in our case. Since it's only one character, it takes 1 byte. If this parameter with key yum is not passed, or if the passed value is not exactly equal to 20 bytes, then let's reject the transaction. Misconfigured, destination account not passed as hook parameter. Let's save and compile. Install it on hook account. Let it trigger on payment transaction. And this is not install time parameter, so we do not set the hook parameter here. Set hook. To make a transaction, we also need master account ID. Let's get that. Copy the R address. Get the account ID of this R address, which is 20 bytes, which is here, copy it. Get back to the test. So now let's send one Xahau from Alice to hook account and then pass the master account ID we just copied. Let's look at raw JSON. This is the syntax to send runtime hook parameter if you're just sending it on your own without using the hook builder. So 4D is hex representation of key yum. Okay, let's switch back. What is this? Amount is 0. Let's make it 1. Again, select the log for hook account. And let's make the test transaction. One Xahau should go from Alice's account to hook account and then to the master account after 6 seconds. That was fast. No, there is some hiccups with my browser today. Let's create another account and forward the amount to that account. Let's repeat the process. Get the account ID. Now the hook account will forward the Xahau to personal account. So from Alice's account, to hook account and then to the personal account. Okay, let's wait for 6 seconds. And that works. What else can we do? Let's also pass the amount as hook parameter. Let's call the key as A, and the value should be less than or equal to the amount you are sending to the hook account, else the transaction should fail. That would be interesting. If you send 2 Xahau, you can enter a number less than or equal to 2, and that amount gets transferred to the account specified here. That's nice. Let's get to the amount passed as hook parameter. It's the same hook API. I'll call it amount underscore param. Native currency is always 8 bytes. The key I have set is A. Check the number of bytes copied, which is 8 bytes. Okay, everything looks fine. Now we have the amount passed as hook parameter here, and the actual amount we received with the transaction, which is here. So do you think if we do this, that is if the amount passed, that is amount underscore param, is greater than the actual amount transferred, do you think this code works? This doesn't work because it's buffer and buffers are not compared like this. And the main reason why it doesn't work is they have different formats. The actual amount we received is serialized with SF code. So let's convert both these to XFL first and then compare, and only then it will work. So let's do it. Changing this to XFL is very easy and very straightforward. It's still 8 bytes, but make it a variable. 64-bit is still 8 bytes. Since it's no more a buffer, remove sbuff and use svar. And now let's change the actual amount received to XFL. We cannot simply change this variable and get the XFL amount, as this value is serialized. So we need to follow certain steps. XFL is 8 bytes, which is 64-bit variable. Let's call the variable as amount underscore XFL. Use float underscore set hook API. You can read more about this API here. And also it's good to learn about XFL in general from this document. I'll put the links to these documents and tools and GitHub link and previous video tutorials link in the description section of this YouTube video. I'll use float set here. First parameter is -6, which is exponent, and the second parameter is amount in drops, which is mantissa. This should give you XFL format of the actual amount transferred. Now since both these values are XFL, we can compare them using another hook API called float compare. So let's look at the documentation first. I'll put this link so you can read it. So float compare, pass the XFL values. The third parameter is the actual comparison. In this case, we will do compare less. If it's true, it returns 1. I think this has to be swapped. If the actual amount transferred is less than the amount specified in the hook parameter. If this is true, then let's reject the transaction. I'll simply say insufficient balance transferred or something like that. You can customize it. Let's install and test this. I will send 1 ZA, but in hook parameter, I'll specify 2 ZA. Here, my browser isn't working properly today. So I'll send 1 ZA, and in hook parameter, I'll specify 2 ZA. That is, I'm trying to transfer more than what I received. Of course, that should fail according to our logic. Let's try that out. Insufficient balance transferred. Okay, that's working as intended. Now let's send 2 ZA. So 2 ZA is not less than 2 ZA, so the transaction must succeed. Once again, Xahau will be sent from Alice's account to Hook account, and the Hook account forwards it to personal account. The balance should be 1003. Let's wait for 6 seconds. Yeah, and that's working. But the code is still incomplete. But let me first show why. Let's transfer 3 Xahau here. But in hook parameter, we have 2 Xahau. The hook should forward 2 Xahau, but it's still forwarding the entire amount it receives. Let's check that. So the personal account should receive 2 Xahau, but it will get 3 Xahau, making this balance 1006. Right? So we don't want that. The hook should forward whatever we specify in the hook parameter. Let's fix that. This is in XFL, but we have to convert it to drops to make it work with prepare payment simple macro. We have another hook API for that. It's called float_int. It takes 3 parameters. First one is float, second one is decimal place, and the third one is abs, that is absolute value, which is always positive if you specify 1. That's it. This should work. Let's install and test it. Here we are sending 3 Xahau from Alice to hook account, but hook account forwards 2 Xahau to personal account, as 2 Xahau is specified in hook parameter. So the final balance should be 1008 and not 1009. And that's working. I hope this turned out to be a useful tutorial. Please like and share this video, and thanks for watching.